welcome to my channel. I'm Polish Agnes. Nice to see you guys here. Nice having you join us. Today is October 10th, 2025, and I brought you guys today a special guest. It's Marcia Wilbur. I hope I am pronouncing it correctly. Welcome to my channel, Marcia, and thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, Agnes. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. So I just wanted to explain to you guys, I am from Connecticut, so is Marcia, and we are currently we are currently working on trying to flip Connecticut red, just because we all have hope that this state could be so much better. And currently now in November, we are going to have an election that is going to determine locally a lot of mayors and for a lot of towns here in Connecticut. So today we are going to be talking to Marcia about Norwich. So I have prepared a couple of a little bit of an information because I live about an hour away from Norwich, and honestly, I think the only thing that I know about Norwich is that you guys have cheaper houses and 2 casinos. That's all I know as far as really. I maybe been to Norwich in the town itself probably a couple times. But it's really extremely beautiful town, to be honest, because I tried looking for some pictures, here on Google, and it is basically on the water. So I think I read that there's 3 rivers, right, that goes through Norwich. So this is your whole entire Connecticut here, and Norwich is somewhere around here. So isn't it District 2? You're in District 2, correct?
It may be 3 districts, right?
Yeah, so I know someone from District 2, District 3, and District 5. I think Norwich, let me see real quick. Norwich, Connecticut, District for Norwich Judicial District. I think I read that it was District 2 or 3. Well, anyways, we can find out that in a second. But I just wanted to show some pictures, of like really beautiful architecture that you guys have there. It's an old town for sure.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a big town from my understanding. It is about 40,000 people, I think you guys have.
That's correct.
40,125, and that was reported, I think, in 2020. It could have changed really, in that 5 years, but I don't think it would change much.
Mm-mm.
And then, I'm surprised because you guys actually have 54.1% white population. Hispanic, you have 19.3, Black African American 11.4, Asian 7.1, and then multiracial, it's about 6.5. And that's actually, pretty awesome. So you have basically diversity there. It's not like one-way town.
Right. Yeah.
And from what I understood, Norwich was huge on manufacturing. And
Yes.
so I think that has changed a little bit, didn't it?
Yeah.
I also see the employment here, which, I have listed some big companies. The hospital is one of them. You have William W. Bacchus, isn't it? And that's a hospital. City of Norwich as a government is another place where it has the most employees. Also, state of Connecticut. Bob's Discount Furniture hires about 553 people, which is surprising, really, honestly.
I thought they were closing that, but maybe
They
I,
were. I don't know. I am reading from Wikipedia. So,
yeah.
uh, Norwich Free Academy, U.S. Food
Mhm.
Services, United Community and Family Services. I don't know what Nordson EFD is, no clue. The American group, and then you have ShopRite, and that's about it for the companies. So not really a big town at all. Also, housing and real estate. I researched here. Median listing sales price 2025 was about 269,000. So that's why I said you guys are a little lower than the rest of Connecticut,
Right.
because you can't really find anymore, houses for anywhere close to even. I mean, 250 is low nowadays. So also, okay, crime and safety. That's another thing that I'm usually always trying to look at whenever I discuss any cities and what's going on, currently. So let's see. Property crime. In 2023, Norwich had 524 property crimes. In 24, there were 503, so a little less. In 2022, 675. Other crime and safety concerns. Some local and news reports mention specific incidents like fires, drug-related police raids. Um, what else? It doesn't really seem like there's much going on by ChatGPT and in your town, from the crime.
Yeah.
Um, but it's really awesome because that town used to did not belong to the tribe, like the Mohegan tribe or something like that, because the casinos are um basically Indian. So let me see. Norwich is a city in New London County in the southeastern part of Connecticut. It was founded in 1659 by settlers from Saybrook, purchasing land from the Mohegan tribe,
So,
led by Saham Uncas. I don't know what that means, but
Sage. Yeah.
yeah.
So Sage was a leader of the Mohegan tribe, which they had, I believe, broken off from the Pequots and formed an alliance with John Mason, our founder, who
Mhm.
settled here from, yes, Old Saybrook, right? Yeah, that, that's a short history version.
Yeah, but it's extremely for America. It's extremely old. It was founded in did it say 1669? 1659.
That's right. Yeah,
So that's basically faster than New York City. I mean, wow. I didn't know that about Norwich, to be honest with you.
right.
But well, I have you. I just wanted to let everyone know that you are running for a mayor of Norwich,
Yes.
and you are also a Republican. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. But I maybe I should have informed you. The run is a petitioning run, not a party run.
Not a party run.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
No.
So are you the one who has to petition, or how would that
So,
actually work?
so what happened was I started to petition, and I was approached by or I had thought about petitioning, and I was approached by the RTC and had an hour and a half meeting with them, and they wanted me to run as counsel and was willing to endorse me as counsel, even
Mm-hmm.
though I was very clear I wanted to be mayor. They thought maybe they could convince me, and it was a convincing argument. I could still work and maintain my career and the money that goes along with that, right? Instead of
Yeah,
dedicating all my time to being a mayor, right? So
yeah.
there, but at the same time, I had been doing independent reporting, And I saw some things and experienced a few incidents with people not wanting to expose the truth that
Mm-hmm.
concerned me, right?
Yeah.
And actions and fiscal, what I would consider fiscal irresponsibility. And being counsel is a great place to start, but you know, I had my sights on mayor. So the mayor is in charge of economic development here. He's not, or he or she is not the CEO,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still an important job because our economic development is being handled by a nonprofit.
Mm-hmm.
And if I could expose it right away, I will say that that nonprofit board of directors include the mayor, the city
Mm-hmm.
manager, multiple council members, the IT director, and every person who has an interest in that nonprofit is making decisions on economic development just for the waterfront and the Occam Industrial Park as per the mission of the nonprofit. And it came up in the last debate, not mine yesterday, but
Mm-hmm.
4 years ago it was Mark Betancourt against Peter Nystrom, that there's never been really a formal full audit because
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
nonprofit. If it was a city
Mm-hmm.
department,
Yeah.
so now I read something recently. I don't know if you could maybe let me know more about this, that they're starting to do full audits of nonprofit organizations getting funds from the state.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I
Mm-hmm.
was glad to hear it because
Yeah.
we don't know
Yeah.
where money's going. Like
I
we,
think everyone needs to be held accountable, when it comes to
Mhm.
the money, because the money has been thrown into so many things and we have no idea where this money is
Right,
going. So
right,
if they finally could be transparent with us, and no matter what company we're talking about, you're either nonprofit or you're working for government, it doesn't really matter,
right.
right?
Yeah, and yeah, especially like okay, so the Diamantis case right now,
Mm-hmm.
you know, there he was taking kickbacks, extorting or bribing people. There's like a 22 count indictment, and one of the construction companies that they subpoenaed for that is actually a construction company that's handling the building of two new schools here in Norwich.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm paying attention to that case for sure, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
you don't know if there's a connection, if something happened here too, right? So
Yeah.
that's, there's unfortunate players, people who have power who can, misuse it or abuse it, right? So
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
So who is the current mayor of Norwich?
His name is Peter Nystrom. He's a career politician. He served. This would have been the end of his third term,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
so I don't think he's allowed to run again. But he's running for council.
Uh-huh. Okay. And he is a Democratic Party or a Republican Party?
Well, he's registered Republican.
He is okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha. So
right.
would you say your is it a town of Norwich or city?
Oh, that's interesting because it was town of Norwich and then city. From what I understand, I need to learn more about the background, but it was several years ago created as city of Norwich, from what I heard.
Mhm.
That it was confusing to me too because I grew up.
Yeah.
It was the Rose City. Now they changed the names even of the senior center from Rose City to someone's name.
Hmm.
Like the names keep changing, but
Hmm.
it's the city of Norwich right now,
Hmm.
right?
Okay.
I understand it. Yes, yes.
So if you could tell us real quick, if you were to describe city of Norwich, what would it be?
the city of Norwich has a great history, right? Um, there's a lot of amazing buildings here. We have the houses on Huntington, Bean Hill area. We have houses, Victorian homes, very nice
Mhm.
if they're, they're kept up. And some of them are, and some
Mhm.
of them are not as well as others, right?
Mhm.
Rich history in Norwich, beautiful landscape, everything like that. But the not a lot of jobs and economy,
Mhm.
and especially now there's not much manufacturing. I mean,
Yeah.
you could call the juice company manufacturing, but that's not exactly,
Mhm.
uh,
Yeah. Jobs are really fundamental, for basically for anybody, who is trying to make their life possible. So, I mean, I think a mayor is responsible for creating those jobs, would you say?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. But in the last term, and it looks like terms before this, like in 2017 when he won, um, the economic development has been, from what I can see, parted out to a third party, being that NCDC nonprofit.
Hmm.
And sure, they get the grants, and then they get the money to, do the work, and there's voting. But you could just
Hmm.
get the grants. The grants are there. You don't need a third party nonprofit to manage your economic development instead of in house. And what I heard from a lot of people around here is like, oh, they're an arm of the city of Norwich. And I was like, yeah, but look at all these other towns that have their own internal
Hmm.
Department of Economic Development. And
Hmm.
this nonprofit only focuses on the waterfront, like I said, and
Yeah.
the industrial.
Right.
What about
Hmm.
the Norwich? And
Yeah.
they'll defend that. The Republicans will defend that, even Republicans. And I'm like,
Hmm.
no, no. You put millions into, the waterfront. You gave $250,000 for their restaurant rehab, but we have all these businesses all over Norwich that could also use that kind of benefit. And you could
Hmm.
tourism because it was ARP funds, right?
Hmm.
So like Dodd Stadium, we have Dodd Stadium. That's
Hmm.
very cool. Um, but I've heard from people who've gone there that it hasn't been maintained as well as it could have been, right? It should have been maintained better. And now they were trying to sell it and in its current state, right? Just so they could possibly have someone else take care of it or get the taxes from it, right? Because they haven't really, they lease it to the baseball team. It's not,
Hmm.
it's an ongoing,
Hmm.
the maintenance and the neglect of properties is an ongoing. Bridges too. Yeah.
Hmm.
We have.
So I just Googled couple things because my next question to you would
Mhm.
have been what you don't like about the city and what do you think you would change for the residents, to basically have a better life.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Okay. So one of the things I'd like to do as mayor is to have a tech initiative and open a community center. We have all these empty buildings, might as well use the space, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
If possible. So open a community center where when there's a Zoom meeting and someone shows up to the venue, they can just go in and do it in the web conferencing room at the community center or someone who doesn't have Wi-Fi, or, needs to do training, right? I mean, we don't have a community center, and we haven't for a very, very, very long time. And
Mhm.
alongside that, I'd like to have a maker space inside that, and eventually, like Pawcatuck is doing right now, they started with a maker space inside their little community center, and now they're converting cinema to a technology innovation hub
Mhm.
with 230 apartments. I mean, and here's the thing: the price for that. Sure, there's a cost, but when it comes to STEM, when it comes to technology, there are a lot of grants and funding for that. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but give the people the resources that they need. I see people all the time, hey, I need to burn a CD, and nobody's computer has it. Well, if you had a makerspace, there would be, you know, a computer there, and someone could do it in a minute. And
Mhm.
oh, I'd love to learn 3D printing, and use one. And maker spaces, they do that. So, like, giving people the resources and also the ability to come together and share skills, experience, and other resources, so that they can combine their efforts. Like, we have a lot of artisans here, and so that's great. But if we matched them with people who had, say, technical skills, now you have a prototype, now you have a product, now you have something
Mhm.
you might be able to manufacture. And I've done a lot of compliance, so I know how to get like UL compliant, or whatever, to get products to market. And so I
Mhm.
have a different experience and perspective than a career politician.
Yeah.
And I'm oh, I forgot to mention, I the I'm an ambassador for Connecticut manufacturing, and so that's why you
Oh,
talk a lot about doing
that's nice. That would definitely be beneficial because I
right.
think manufacturing is really um in Connecticut, there's a lot of manufacturing that is happening, and a lot of helicopters and airplane, you know, I don't know, pieces or whatever you call, you
Green.
know,
Yep.
exactly. You do
Hmm.
a lot of those, and if you could bring, one of those manufacturers to open in Norwich, I mean, that would help, the city
So
tremendously,
it
basically.
really would. And I'll tell you, the one thing though is they passed this thing called, having to do with prevailing wage. And so if any, and manufacturers are leaving the state of Connecticut, and that could actually be an opportunity for people who are local, right, to
Hmm.
start filling that gap. And it's because the prevailing wage determines what they can pay someone for a job that has public funds, right?
Hmm.
I mean, I'm not saying that's the only option, but it does seem like an opportunity to, manufacture locally, right? Um, and I don't know. I just, there's a lot of opportunities. There's training for trades that is available. I get something for the boat, which is um,
Hmm.
the submarines, and the
Yeah.
training and jobs that are available there. And once we do get some manufacturers in here, there are grants for them to have interns for training them, and there's a lot of opportunity when it comes to manufacturing. Yes.
Hmm. Absolutely. So, what do you think about your school system? Do you guys have good schools?
So I actually worked as an after school teacher
Oh
for,
yeah,
yeah,
that's awesome.
in 2023 to 2024. I taught after school as a vendor,
Hmm.
um, for Moriarty Elementary, Stanton Elementary, Waquanic Elementary, and Kelly Middle School.
Mm-hmm.
And I've looked at, here's the thing. I handed out some papers to 4th and 5th graders, and I was told that they didn't read. And I said, none of
Wow.
them. And the lady who was the assistant in the room, she was a teacher at the school. She says, no, none of them. And then afterwards I said, well, is this a remedial after school program? Because they're learning coding. How can I teach them to code if they can't read? Right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And it's not that the kids aren't bright. They just don't know how to read. So I went and I looked at the statistics, and at that time, it was like 17 to 27% reading level.
Wow.
Preston,
Wow.
yeah,
That's low.
very low. Preston, who's next to us, had something like 65%, which still isn't like, great,
Great.
but it's
Yeah.
17% like Norwich, right? So
Wow.
yeah. And some of the things I saw, it was unnerving. 4th and 5th graders throwing chairs, punching each other, spitting, kicking,
Yeah.
swearing. It was like I was in, I mean, it was like I was in an inner city school, really.
Yeah.
And so you have these really sweet kids who are trying to navigate through this type of experience, and it's challenging to maintain control of the erratic behavior of the students, and still be able to teach those who are there to learn, because some of them, they don't even want to learn. They'll go in the corner and put their jacket hood over their head, and you can only draw a horse to water, you can't make it drink, right? So
Yeah. I think it's just so upsetting, Marcia, because real estate taxes are extremely expensive here in Connecticut,
yeah,
and I'm pretty sure in Norwich, I don't even know what your mill rate in Norwich and what your average tax, yearly tax for a house would be. But I think if I'm a homeowner and I have a child and I send them to school, and then they finish school, right, and they can't even read or do basic math, i
right.
think
Math is
i
another one.
think it really does take a lot of money, because most of the time the budget for education for your schools, from the city is about 50 to 70%, that goes into buildings, paying teachers, or like everything that goes with education basically. And I think it's so much money. I don't even know how many millions or billions is that.
Right.
I have no clue, but it's a lot when you really consider every single town and city, is paying for the education system. And you are ending up with a child who is literally dumb. Like, how is that even possible?
Yeah,
Like, we're
exactly.
not moving a third world country.
Exactly. Well, the thing is that there were some efforts by Moriarty to help the kids to learn to read, right? And by the time I got to Kelly Middle School, those kids, they could read. Some of them didn't speak English, but they would do the work, right? And
Mhm.
they weren't unruly either. They were good
Yeah.
kids over there. Um, but one of the problems we have is that, based on our last budget, we can't give them anything less. And if they're asking for more at the
Mhm.
end of the year, you know, we have to give them more than what we gave them last year. There's a statute in Connecticut that requires that. So
Yeah.
it doesn't
Wow.
matter if they don't need it all.
Yeah. Well,
But
I mean, at this point, to relieve a little bit, the whole homeowners and whoever owns real estate that mostly basically pay into the budget, because that we have to admit that is the biggest chunk of the budget of any city.
oh,
Basically, is real estate, right? Or taxes for your personal property, which is cars,
yeah,
and the only way to relieve that is to bring companies that are going to pay into that system with their taxes. So, whatever kind of store you open, like Target or Walmart or some other big companies, big stores, if they are paying into the system, then it's easier to maneuver all. At least that's what I think. I'm not a
right.
specialist,
Ideally,
but
ideally, yeah. But we just had Staples close because the
right.
rent raised, and we just had Big Lots close. Maybe,
Oh no.
yeah, mhm,
That
yeah,
sucks. I love Big Lots, but they
yeah.
were not closing across the state though.
I
Big
think
Lots.
they were. It's possibly they were,
Yeah.
but that still takes a little bit of toll on the taxes, and we have a lot of profits. I mean, I have heard in the thousands. I've heard almost, I mean, I'd like to, try. ChatGPT couldn't give me a number, but try to pin down how many. And I'll tell you, it's not pretty. They take up prime real estate in downtown Norwich that could be used for
Mhm.
businesses that are bringing in taxes, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And um,
Absolutely.
the biggest one of and I appreciate the hospital and that
Yeah.
it's a good employer, but they're not hiring everyone from Norwich. There's a lot of people who work there from surrounding towns, so they're bringing their money home, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I believe their last 990 was $500 million in that
Wow.
year that they had, and they hold about 800 million in assets.
Yeah.
It's a nonprofit. I appreciate that if I have to go to the hospital and I don't have medical, hey, that's a good
Hmm.
way to go, right?
Yeah.
But I think that, there I'll have to look into if there's any payment in lieu of taxes with them, because that seems like a lot of assets and a lot of money to have, right?
Hmm.
And not give anything back to the town except your services. Well, maybe the hospital is fine. But these other nonprofits, we're not getting any value from their services.
Yes. Exactly. You don't. They don't pay
No,
taxes.
no, we
Literally.
don't. And we have nonprofits that are like competing against each other. We don't need two of them. We only need one, right?
Yeah.
They're all doing the same thing. Then, you know, and
Hmm.
they're taking up space and costing us potential earnings and money in the tax base, then we really need to have a sit down and negotiate a pilot or something.
Yeah. Absolutely. So,
Mm.
how about grocery stores? Did I just read that you have one?
Now we
You
have,
have more big, like big ones.
yeah, but here's the problem. The problem is that they're not in Taffville or Greenville, right?
Mhm.
We have on the west side, ShopRite. We have a Walmart. It's not a full grocery,
Oh,
but
okay. Just
there's,
regular.
yeah, it's not like a super Walmart, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's on the west side. And then we have Stop and Shop over by Town Street. But in Greenville, we used to have the A&P, and then it was a Starwood, but that entire plaza is closed, so no
Mhm.
grocery store there. So like Greenville, Taffville area, you know, they'd have to go to Lisbon or get a ride to Norwich.
Yeah.
Shop can be a little pricey if you don't play with the deals, right?
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah, absolutely.
Walmart is limited on what you can get anyways.
Mhm.
I mean, I think the other day I went there, they didn't even have bananas. I was like, this,
What?
yeah, yeah, like the selection
Wow.
there, but it's not great, right? 'Cause it's
Mm-hmm.
a small one. And yeah, ShopRite is good, but I don't really shop there. I go to Lisbon actually, even
Yeah.
though there's an Aldi, there's a Target, there's a
Oh, okay, okay. So
super
yeah.
super Walmart. I mean, I want to support local businesses, but those are major
Mhm.
corporations anyways. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know. I really, honestly, I think someone who was innovative and had an eye towards business could use this gap to help the people in the town and create income, like a fleet of refrigerated vans that served like food trucks, but went through neighborhoods regularly or took orders online
Huh.
because there's the people can't get to the store. you know I
Yeah.
I, I
It's a
took a
big problem. Yeah.
and you don't want to take someone to the store all the time. Like I took a lady to the store on a Sunday a couple weeks ago, and I
Hmm.
spent an hour and a half, and she just got like uh, groceries. You know what I mean? Like there's an hour and a half of my life. I mean, she's a
Yeah.
great lady,
Yeah.
but I'm saying people don't really want to sacrifice that much, right? To help their neighbor. So why not have some kind of a service like Instacart and Uber and DoorDash? These days their prices are
Oh, expensive.
through
I
the
don't I don't ever use that, to be honest with
I
you.
used to a lot, but no more
Yeah.
coupons, and they deliver it to someone else's house.
Yes,
you know,
yes. And then I've used it one time, literally during COVID. I think maybe this was like April or something. And I ordered stuff from Costco because I
yeah,
didn't have a card to Costco. And I'm like, I'm gonna surpass this and not
right,
buy membership. I'm just gonna order Instacart. And
right.
half of my order wasn't stopped. And I was just like, I didn't even have that many things. And then they didn't even bring me water, which I get it's heavy, but that was my main concern, to have water, like bottled water or something.
That's
And
fun.
once I get upset with something like that, and I know by going by myself, I'm going to do a better job and just get what I need. And then it took me time to return things. They had to reimburse me and stuff like that. And I was just like, yeah, no, this is not gonna work. And so I think when those services are um available to people now, it's a lot easier and better to get the groceries prepared by the employee from the store. I would go with that because when I go to the store, I see multiple people, like employees, walking around and
Right.
scanning everything, and I would kind of trust this better because an employee exactly know what do they have, what kind of produce, where is it, and stuff like that. Sometimes when you get someone who maybe is not a quality person, they're not going to care about your groceries,
A lot
So
of green bananas. A lot of green bananas.
yes, yes, exactly. I know. So I just Google, major criticism and issues in Norwich. So I wanted to read it to you and see
Okay.
if you agree with those. And then my next thing will also be affordable housing and how are you guys doing with homeless people? Because I
Right.
live in New Britain and here it's crazy. It's a lot, you
Yeah.
know.
Us.
So
Yeah.
so I don't know how you guys doing, but let me just read here real quick. So the first thing that comes up is teacher dissatisfaction, staff turnover, and unhealthy work climate in the schools.
Oh, really?
Do you agree with that? Since you said you were a teacher.
I I agree with it when Stringfellow was in office for sure.
Uh-huh.
I had some
Yeah.
people contacting me, paraprofessionals, even kitchen staff, because they would make decisions that would affect these people. And meanwhile, they had been putting up with a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Disrespect, bullying, whatever you want.
Yes. Yes, that's what
and
it says
paid,
here.
yeah, and they weren't getting paid as well. And then they cut the kitchen staff and
Wow.
went with a third party vendor. And it's a little dehumanizing when you just pick a vendor. I know there's a bid process, but you know, keep negotiate to keep some of the staff for at least, a
Yeah.
semester, a few months. And then that summer, because of that, they thought they weren't going to be able to give those summer meals to the youth.
Yeah.
But
Kids.
people got together, something happened, and they pulled it off, right? But why put people in that situation in the first place? And
Yeah.
at the school, I would say yes, there was a lot of FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. There were certain schools that were welcoming to have an outsider come in and see what's going on and teach the kids. And then there were schools that did not. And the
Hmm.
treatment that I received as a vendor was, at least in one school's case, not good. And when I reported the things that I had seen, bullying children,
Yeah.
bad behavior, right? They said,
Hmm.
you are the only one who stuck it out at that school. And everyone has complained about that particular location.
Hmm.
And it's not the fault of the people who work there entirely, but maybe a few bad apples, right?
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
still, they are with our children. They are supposed to be the examples for our children. Our children learn from adults that have authority, and it's not a good situation.
Hmm.
When I finished, what was it, about April, May of 2024. So not that long ago, right?
Hmm. No, not at all. So you
The others
definitely know what was
were
going
great.
on
They had leaders who cared about the kids. It wasn't just a job for them, right? They had, they would talk to the kids. So, it depends on school, right? It really
there.
does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So a climate survey of Norwich teachers revealed that a large majority feel fearful of retaliation if they
Yeah.
speak up about problems at work. The
Yeah.
district has lost many certified staff, hundreds in given year, and there are accusations of poor leadership, lack of communication, and special education violations.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it takes me to an article which says Norwich teachers push back against abusive administrators.
Yeah.
So there was definitely something going on there.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of discussion in Facebook, and
mm,
it was like, yeah, let's get out there with our signs. And they
yeah,
did. They
yeah.
took the action. They went out there and they were like, we're not going to take it anymore, right?
Mhm.
So I give them a lot of credit for that. Really, I do. And but that being said, we had to pay for the superintendent while she was on leave,
Mhm.
and we had to pay for the interim superintendent, and the interim superintendent became the actual superintendent, Susan.
Oh.
And now we have a controversy because she's trying to save money by using the bus transportation
Mhm.
as a vehicle
Yeah.
to save money.
Huh.
And so some children were injured in a car accident uh,
Wow.
because they had changed the bus stop.
Mhm.
And the next year, and the parent complained to everyone, and nobody was really listening. And so the
Mhm.
year, they even made the bus stop worse, right?
Wow.
And they're trying to convince parents that they're the last line. There's no other appeal. There's no other place you can go. Our decision is final. That's not true. because like they have a bus stop on Route 82. Very busy, very hazardous. The state calls it Crash Alley, right?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And the school had an internal investigation of the bus stop and said it was not hazardous, even though clearly it falls under the
Yeah.
state's guidance as hazardous, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
I've noticed
so,
that pattern a lot with other cities when residents literally bring it up that certain intersections or certain spots are really dangerous, and then there are literally ongoing accidents happening. It's like few a month, and they refuse to either put a stop signs there, which would
right,
literally limit. I mean, how much the stop sign is going to cost you, I mean, or two of them. I understand that, putting a light there is a lot more work and money, and probably permits and redoing, half of the section, but a
mhm,
stop sign,
yeah,
I mean, it's such an easy solution, and they don't like it. Sometimes you feel like these politicians or whoever is, holding the seats or in the government, like
yeah,
they're just out there for themselves, and
yeah,
and they don't care that we hire them and they work for us, and
right,
they're supposed to be doing things for us.
right. And actually, at that Board of Ed meeting, um, they were talking about this certain case. And a guy said, they voted for us. They voted because they trust us to make the right decision. So we're going to make the right decision and not make an exception. Um, yeah,
Wow.
that was like, okay, so we'll remember that on November 4th, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know people say that will remember this, and then they don't
And then,
remember.
oh,
But
I
yeah.
will remember this guy.
All right. The
Oh,
next, the next concern and issue I have literally like number two is
okay.
tax concerns, rising tax burden and budget.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Residents have voiced frustration over high property taxes and how taxes rates have increased, which happened everywhere. Some believe that a large number of, like you said, nonprofit organizations, which
Mhm.
are tax exempt, are using property that could otherwise generate revenue, increasing the burden on regular taxpayers.
Mhm.
And I mentioned that. Complaints about lack of transparency. We talked about this too. Funds
Yeah.
being moved around
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
cover salaries and decisions made without sufficient public discussion.
Right.
So it looks like they are hiding, and that's hiding a lot of stuff, and basically the taxes are going up and up and up, but like we spoke before, there are no jobs,
Right.
being created so you can supplement your income somehow.
Right. Exactly. And the thing is, like, we have a park, Howard Brown Park, and they have this great place in Canto Scoops where you can get, milkshake, food. That's great. That would be
Hmm.
great if the park was safe, right?
Hmm.
So you could put a bunch of businesses down there. And
Hmm.
you know what I'm saying? Like, we have empty car garages
Wow.
for some reason. And I want to guess. And so this is just a guess. When the casinos came to town or
Hmm.
opened, they thought they would get tourism. They really, really believed that people would go to a casino, which is like an island of its own, park in the casino garage or get dropped off
Hmm.
at the front, and then come to Norwich.
Hmm.
That does not seem reasonable to me. Definitely
Yeah.
not at this point. The casino is like a campus. It's like its own little town, right?
Oh yeah, it's huge. Did
You
you
never
guys have
leave.
both casinos for Norwich, or is it just the Mohegan Sun?
We have both. We have, okay, so neither one is in Norwich, but right outside. We're right there.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have
Gotcha.
we have Fox was on the Route 2A going up,
Hmm.
and then we
Yeah.
have Mohegan Sun on 32, which is literally right down the street from where I grew up. Like, I was surprised when I saw that the entrance was right there, because there was
Yeah.
nothing there, right? So there's a lot of traffic, and all of the Mohegan Sun. Here's another thing that's a burden, I believe.
Mhm.
All of the Mohegan Sun cases go into the Norwich court.
Oh, really?
And you'll
Why
see,
though?
yeah, you'll see cases like lady got mad, she lost all her money, went behind the counter and broke a monitor at the casino, or
Yeah.
outrageous, behavior, right? And
Mhm.
that is getting, that's filling up our blocks in our courthouse with crimes that are, not just Norwich crimes.
Yeah, right, right.
And
So you
you,
guys have court there in Norwich, right?
hmm?
You have court. You
Yeah,
have probate court, right?
yeah, yeah.
And criminal, is it not that?
Yeah, we have a family criminal. It's like I think it's GA 21. Um,
Uh-huh.
and uh, yeah, but I've sat there a couple of times for paperwork purposes and investigation purposes, and I
Yeah.
seen so many cases come in through Mohegan Sun, and
Mm.
it's another burden that. Okay, so we have, I don't know if you want to talk about the fire departments, but we have a lot of emergency calls
Mhm.
go out for, drinking, drugs,
Yeah, yeah.
illness, whatever. And that's also, we're like a recovery town. We have a bunch of sober houses, but I know you want to talk about the homeless encampments, and I can totally go there. Um,
Mhm.
so we have the ones I know of are at the river, by Stop and Shop, by Big
Mhm.
Y. There's another
Mhm.
one closer to like Basra area that I heard
Mhm.
recently. Um, there's did I say Mohegan Park already? I don't know. I From what I can gather, there's at least 5 or 6 of these. I've heard 7. So I'm just gonna go on the low end, right?
Are you talking about homeless shelters right now or places where they hang out?
Oh, encampments where they
Oh, okay. Yes, yes. All right. Yeah, I didn't catch
alongside
it.
the river or in the woods, right?
Yeah, yeah,
There
exactly.
used to be a building, but they got in Greenville, but then they got like removed from it, and it burned down. It had a lot of toxic paint and stuff in there, and they were staying in there. So anyway, there was an encampment, and they wanted this guy to leave. And of course, they're not going to call the local police or the state police,
Yeah.
because maybe they're not there with permission, or there's too many people there, whatever. They burned this guy's tent down. He wasn't in it, thank God.
No,
But
yeah,
Fred, you know what I
I would
mean?
hope.
They wanted him out. He wouldn't leave, and so they burned his tent down. Yeah, I was at a public safety meeting when I heard about it. I was like, wow.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's a lot. Yeah, I mean, you could confiscate it, but burn
Yeah,
it.
move it, whatever. They just wanted him out, and they burned down his tent. Hmm.
Wow,
But
that's a little excessive, if you ask me. You know.
it's just like anywhere. There's good people. There's, a guy, he thought his friend was going to harm himself. He called 911 from, he went all the way somewhere so he could get service and call 911 or whatever it was. So, some people, they don't want to live in an apartment or a house or with society, right? Some people are just determined to rough
Mhm.
it, and that's okay. That's their choice, right?
So,
But
so,
in the
so
winter,
tell me, do you have any shelters? Do you have any warming
okay,
centers?
we do have a warming center. We were told that it would hold, oh, I wish I could remember. I got to look it up. We were told that we can hold, I think it was
50?
23
Oh,
people.
20? Okay, that's not a lot. Yeah.
No, no. but then the fire department came in and said it really could only hold a lot less than that. And here's the problem with the warming centers. And I think the councilman,
Mhm.
JP Marine, mentioned that last night at the debate, is
Mhm.
that they get kicked out at like 7 in the morning and they can't come back in until like 9 at night.
Yeah.
And so they're freezing. They can't shake the cold. They got to find a place to stay from 7 to 9. It's just a
Yeah.
really temporary situation.
Right. Right. Yeah.
It's not something where
Mhm.
they can get relief and get back on their feet even,
Mhm.
right? Even though there are transition houses for sobriety with SCAD, I believe.
Mhm.
But those are mostly in New London, and there's one in Norwich, I believe. But
Mhm.
again, they're SCAD. They have a property, and then I don't know if I have to check on their actual building, the other building. But I know
Mhm.
that they get exempt from paying taxes on at least one building or home, if not more.
Wow.
So they bring in, this is what I heard. This is just what I heard. They bring in people, they have Lebanon Pines, right? People go there from all over the state. And then they're looking for a sober house. So they have a few in Norwich. They come to Norwich and participate in the program. And if they relapse, maybe they stay in Norwich, right?
Mhm.
Because that's where they are.
Mhm.
And I've heard a lot of complaints about, you know, SCAD. And if you don't give people proper counseling or the amount that you're billing the state for, or with a licensed professional, right? Then maybe people will relapse. But it seems like a revolving door would be better for the business than not. I'm
Yeah. Yeah. For
sorry,
sure.
but that's one of the things I noticed about the nonprofits is
Mhm.
that it was a revolving door. Even like Safe Futures, where women talk about, their issues, with domestic issues and things like that. There were people in there who, or in there probably still is, who for over a decade have been going to the meetings. And you would think, and I appreciate that they have a program and they care about victims. Don't get me wrong. But
Yeah.
there seems to be like no incentive. And I told the or one of the people this when I spoke to them. They don't, they just,
What? Oh no, we lost her. I am betting her phone died. Ay, ay, ay. Let me just text her. Okay, I just texted her that we are waiting here for her and that she can use the same link. I think maybe her phone died, so she's gonna have to probably take a minute and charge it. But when she comes back, we can talk about that a little bit more. But I just wanted to bring up a couple other things about Norwich and just overall dissatisfaction and criticism and issues that are ongoing in that city. Although it's a very, very small city, it's only 40,000 people. I mean, how much can you do with 40,000 people? How much resources, how much you can invest into helping them. If we were exclude completely the nonprofit organizations, then I mean, is it even going to be possible to build a homeless shelter? Because in towns that are um, kind of poor, you do know that you always have some homelessness and people are being evicted and people are losing their homes. So basically, But I also think, as many beds, as many places for homeless people are going to have, you're probably not going to have enough ever. Oh, she's back.
Sorry about that one.
Yay!
I,
I was suspecting your phone died.
yeah, it did. I said, "Oh my goodness, no." So I was talking about, what was I talking about?
We were talking about the homelessness,
Oh,
and all that stuff. So,
right.
I was
So,
asking you if you do have any homeless shelters and if you
right.
have
And
any
so,
beds you can keep people. Yeah.
right. And so, we don't have a lot of warming centers. And we also, even though the homes are cheaper, don't
Yeah.
have a lot of new properties. Not a lot. I mean,
No construction.
they'll open some apartments, but they'll be like, filled up quick if they're subsidized, or 1,800 a month with the first and last and deposit. You know what I
Is it
mean?
1,500
Yeah,
too? Just like here? Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
yeah. So they do have some, and I believe it's like 5,000 for deposit and last
Yeah.
month, and then they want first month. So it's kind of rough to
It's
pay
a
five
lot of
thousand.
money for someone to put out, and
Right,
people have no savings. So, I
right.
mean, it's the economy that we live in. If someone, really asks me now, because I am a happy homeowner, so I don't have to worry about those things anymore. But, if I right now was going to go and rent an apartment, like where I live here, it's like about 1,400 square feet, it's 3 bedrooms, and regular kitchen, very small bathroom, and a pantry. Um, and I also have 2 spots for to park the cars, and
Right.
so
Yeah.
yeah, so that's like $1,800 to $2,000 here, and
Yeah.
then so you have to count that 3 times because they want the deposit, the first and last,
That's right. That's
so
right.
that's $5,000. Like, do I
Hmm.
have $5,000 in my account currently to be able to look for an apartment like this one? And this is not even, I don't live in luxury. It's just like very simple, And I'm just like, I would have to come up with $5,000 to literally move in somewhere. And then they're gonna be like credit score 700, no
Yeah.
evictions,
Yeah.
and W-2s, prove this, prove that, previous
Yeah.
landlord, da 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 da. And I get that because I also am a landlord, but
Right.
I was renting an apartment currently not too long time ago in March, and I did not ask for excessive amount of deposit because I was trying to think if I was in that situation, would I be able to come up with this money?
Right.
And I have a family who came with a small child, like he was maybe like, I don't know, 5 months or something like that. And I'm thinking, like I am a landlord. I am a person who needs to give these people's housing, and I get that. If I wait a little longer, I probably would find someone else, but I only asked for 1 month, deposit. And I
Right.
was like, I'm going to take the chances because people need to live. They need to have possibilities of moving in. And I get it. I am taking a chance of having an apartment being destroyed. And obviously, that
Right.
$1,400 or whatever, how much I took, is not even going to cover a small piece if something was going to happen or if they destroyed it. But unfortunately, I mean, landlords need to provide the housing. And then, sometimes you're like, well, I want $5,000 because that's going to cover if they're going to break something. That's the nature of your business. Unfortunately, there's always going to be something that, it's going to be screwed up about the business that you're doing. And so the prices are crazy and it drives me absolutely nuts
So,
because
yeah.
when I first came here, that was in 2007, and then later on I had to look for my own apartment and stuff. And I remember I was taking care of kids like on a side on a weekend. I
Mhm.
was making $20 an hour back then, and that was in 2009. $20 an hour, that was decent. And I rented an apartment with, with one of my girlfriends, and we were paying $800 for 3 bedrooms.
Oh my
So
God.
that $20,
Yeah. Yeah.
$20 an hour, that's what you're still making. And they consider this a lot when you're taking care of kids. And now your rent is 1,800. That it's just crazy. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. So in other states, and see, maybe that gives me a little better perspective is I came home after being gone and living elsewhere. They
Mhm.
actually had the same kind of, problems with extreme deposits and rent. And they passed
Yeah,
laws and have statutes that restrict people from taking more than a 1 month deposit.
yeah, yeah.
And
I mean, I
and I
would be
mean,
okay with that if you are able to do good screening and you can
right,
look
right,
in
right.
the last 10 years, you should have disclosed if someone was evicted and was not paying.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But the other thing is here in Connecticut, if you're a senior, then you're not required to pay for
Yes, yes,
yeah,
62
right.
and
They have
up. Yeah.
different rules.
Hmm.
But here's the thing. There's not a lot of senior housing out here. There's some, but I mean, they start at 62 years old, and there's a wait list, that's so insane that maybe you can get on it someday, right? Years later. Um, so there, I proposed what Plainfield is doing with the tiny homes.
Oh, I love that idea.
Yeah, so they passed an ordinance to allow for tiny homes. The tiny homes are,
Oh, I love it.
my sister got one in
Oh,
Arizona. It was like 15,000. It was Elon Musk's, I think it was Boxley or something.
oh, really? They were
Yeah,
not even that expensive.
yeah, and it was like 15,000. I don't know about
Yeah.
now, but it was a few years ago. And all she had to do was have water and electric, right? Connected. I believe that's all. But anyway, um, yeah, it's totally doable. And imagine you're paying so much in taxes. Our mill rate is 32%, a little over 32% right now. Before it was over 40. Okay. So imagine, so you have a little property, a little part of the property, and a tiny home. I don't think your taxes are going to be that bad on that tiny home.
I
Whereas,
mean, if they were going to build this and let's say resource some land, right? You can
mhm.
put 20 or
Oh yeah,
30, little houses like this, and your taxes, to be honest, shouldn't be more than $200, $300 a year.
oh
Because
well,
what
yeah,
are you really using? What,
yeah,
why it's not attached really,
yep.
to you don't have the basement like your normal, so it's basically like a trailer type, like we call it here in Connecticut.
So I stayed in one in Utah where it was supposed to be like kind of a motel type structure. And there was a bunch of tiny homes all in a circle, like
Hmm.
together. And you rent it like a hotel or whatever. And it was fine. It was fine. So, like, yeah, it's totally doable. You could have, you don't need that much land. It doesn't take a lot of resources, right? Because it's tiny home. And I'd like to explore that a lot more because we can't really build out here without chopping down trees or
Yes.
deforestation. And I don't want to see that unless it's necessary. And
Hmm.
so take some of these homes have an acre, 3 acres, put a tiny home on there. Like if
Yeah.
I would do it from, like my kids, I have like 6 kids, 5 sons and a daughter.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. Six
they're all
kids.
adults now.
Uh-huh.
But why not take a property, have the main house, right? And
Yeah,
instead of a
absolutely.
trailer on your property, you can slap
Hmm.
a few of these tiny homes and,
Yeah.
have them They're with you. I don't know. You can rent them out as Airbnbs. I don't, you know what? All I know is we have a housing shortage. Even
Yeah.
though all these homes are being sold, it's the same homes over and over and over.
Yes, yes, yes.
So why not explore this tiny home thing as Plainfield is doing? And so that's one of the things I'd like to explore a lot more.
Yeah, I do love that idea because nowadays houses are just so expensive,
Oh yeah.
and just a regular family is literally struggling to first come
Yeah.
up with the down payment, and with the interest rate, taxes, and home insurance prices,
Right.
it's literally cutthroat to where
Mhm.
you're going to be with your bills every single month, you know. And I don't know, a lot of people wants to do that, where on top of mortgage you're going to have all your maintenance. So
Exactly.
and Connecticut comes with a lot of maintenance, and you know, you would think that everything is great and cool, you know, when you live in a city, maybe yes, because you have city water, you have city sewer, you
Mhm.
also are able to heat your house with propane, or well, let's say even electric, or something else. It doesn't have to be necessarily oil. But if you do live out in the sticks, there is a lot of things that you have to take under consideration, except your mortgage, because you have to have a well, right? You have
Right.
to have a septic system. You
Right.
have to think about what you're going to do if you lose power, because if that well's pump is not going to work because you don't have electricity, now you're
Mhm.
screwed. You
Yep.
have no water whatsoever, you
Mm.
know. And if you have no power, you basically cannot do anything else. If you don't have water, you can't go potty, you know, you can't do other things. So
So
it's really a lot. And you know, rebuilding a septic system, for example, if it's leaking, or you know, some towns also have the ordinance of cleaning them, so that's extra, you know, basically expense. Sometimes people do get generators that are for the whole entire house, and that could run you up to $20,000 to install it, you know. So all your necessities, basically, when you lose power, because we do have strong winds here, you know, they're going to work, because you know, a little generator that you're going to buy for $500 is basically not going to really do much, you know. It will hold maybe just your food in the fridge will run that way, but otherwise you're screwed. So thinking about the expenses that you're going to have, and you never really think about it, because also if you're on the private road, then you are going to have to fix the private road yourself, because the city is not going to do that. A lot of times you have HOAs, you know, that
mhm.
you have to pay, and if you're not going to pay, they can foreclose on you. And
Right.
so,
Your
you
point.
know, we're,
Yeah.
we're talking about the mortgage insurance, you know, of your home. Let's say it's $3,500, but then what about if something breaks? You know, like how are
Deductible.
you going to survive? And,
Right.
and um, and it's hard. And if we could come up with tiny living, basically,
Yeah.
you know, you can rent all these, you don't
Yeah.
have to worry about, you know, obviously you would have to figure it out how you're going to get your electricity there if
Well,
something happens, but
yeah.
that would be your only expense, basically.
That was one of the requirements is electric and water. So
Yeah.
I don't know how to, she put it in a storage unit uh,
Uh-huh.
to wait until the time she's ready. I haven't spoken to her about it in a while, but you don't, $15,000. Well, if you're going to pay 5,000 on a deposit for an apartment
Yeah.
anyways,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
you
You know,
know,
and I think easily if you put like 10, you know, or 12 tiny houses in one spot, and you
yeah,
know, run you know, sewer to one septic system, and then you run pipes for the water, and then let's say you use solar or some kind of other source of electricity. I
right.
mean, it's still a pretty big income, but it provides a living that basically is so independent for people,
Yeah.
like let's say older people or people that are just starting their lives, like
Yeah.
let's
And
say they just got married and they need to figure it out where they're gonna go, like what kind of apartment they're gonna, have, or
well, I think
um
the thing is like right now, even 2000 a month, it doesn't matter how much you make because taxes are coming out, bills are coming out, right?
yeah,
Happen. If you had a tiny home and you're not spending that much or putting that much into it, you can start saving for a larger home or
yeah,
what.
absolutely.
Yeah. And now we have people out here that I actually know, my old neighbor, living in their car because they can't find housing. They can't find affordable housing. She works, but she doesn't have the 3 times the amount of your rent.
Yeah,
She's not making that much, right? And
yeah,
so she's trying to save up money by staying in her car and it's getting cold. So that's gonna, hopefully she can work that out, you know? But
yeah,
there's a
I
lot of
hope
people
so.
out there like that. A
Mhm.
lot of people. Another guy's living in his van with his cat. Another, I either know them these people personally or from, Facebook, but
Yeah.
it's happening. It's not just the homeless camps. It's
Mhm.
affecting everyday,
Regular people. Yeah.
work with jobs. Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause they
Yeah.
raise the rent and it's unaffordable. And, they don't want an eviction. So they'll either leave and not get their deposit back, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or whatever. Yeah.
I
It
know.
needs work. It definitely needs work.
Hmm. So I have a couple other oh, because the homeless is what I was going to ask you was affordable housing, and it looks like you guys have about 19%. Norwich has over 19% of its housing stock that counts as affordable, meaning units
Wow.
that are deed restricted or otherwise restricted assisted. This is well above the 10% target for the state.
Right.
Uh, so you are way above what they are asking, by the state to have in the city. It's 10%. I heard it was 9, but it says 10 here, and you guys are on the 19th. So how do you feel about do you think you should be creating more affordable housing, or do you think that they do have it too much? Because and whenever you make it or build a building or renovate some kind of like old houses and make it as affordable housing, obviously the city is not paying taxes on that building, to the city, right? So anything basically that goes with that building, all the maintenance, everything that goes on there is paid by the taxes from the real estate.
Right. Right. Right.
So what do you think? Do you think you should be having, creating more affordable housing?
So someone came up to me last night after the debate and said, I don't understand, you know, the culture of this town or the environment. And
Mhm.
the thing is, I was just reading the Norwich City, like their annual report or one of these reports, and it said, so 64% of the population makes less than, or has a median income of $54,000.
Yeah.
That's quite low for a household income. And so
Yeah. For
it
two
wouldn't matter.
people?
Yeah, it
For
wouldn't
two people.
matter,
Yeah.
right? How
Wow.
much affordable housing you create if
Yeah.
they don't have the money to even afford the
Yeah.
subsidized housing.
Yeah. Yeah. Jobs. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So without jobs and without income, right? It's always going to be unaffordable for them. And it got worse with, the rising taxes and the rising home insurance, right? Homeowners insurance with
Mm-hmm.
the rising, and then there's no salaries, no jobs.
Yeah.
That's a big, big issue. I'm
Yeah.
trying to get to the root cause of all of this. And while I can appreciate that someone might want to bring more apartments downtown, studios
Yeah.
or one bedrooms, at the same time, what we really need is to fix the root cause, get more jobs, have transportation to where there are jobs. These kind
Yeah.
of things can improve the quality of life for the people. They can start affording things. It's
Yeah.
it's not going to happen overnight, but
No.
I don't know about putting in more affordable housing at this point because people get in and they stay. They never leave. If it's subsidized,
Yeah.
they stay as long as they can, right?
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, it's a tough situation.
So we would definitely opt more for bringing companies and creating
Hmm.
jobs so
Oh
people
yeah,
can make more money instead
yeah,
of trying to use the taxes,
yeah.
to give them housing because obviously, $17, $18 an hour, your low income jobs are not going to be able to sustain the rents that are $1,800 a month,
So there
so
was a young person in line in front of me a few months ago, and she had just gotten a minimum-ish wage, $18 an hour, and she was
yeah,
saying to her friend, "That's good, right? That's good, huh? It's part time, but it's good, right?" And I was like, "No, that's actually not
no,
good. You
yeah,
got to do what you got to do around
yeah,
here."
yeah,
But people are making four times that. Do you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
So,
absolutely.
like, I
I
want to
think
help them.
nowadays anything that's less than 25 an hour is really tough.
Yeah, I mean,
It's really tough.
I think if they were trained and had the skills, they could
Yes.
make at least twice that. At
Yeah.
least, right?
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
then how affordable would it be for them? Very, right? As long as they do the work, put in the work, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
get the job and, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, right. So I have a couple other issues here that was brought up in my document here that, like the criticism and issues.
Okay.
Um, so it says here that people are concerned about lack of responsive or consistent leadership and follow through. So there is
Oh,
an example of Norwich citizens approved an advisory vote to consider hiring another full-time police officer. But the board later finalized the budget without allocating money for that position or discussing it further. This raises concerns about whether citizen input means much. So, it just kind of seems like they're doing whatever they want,
yeah, yeah,
um, and they don't take the public under the consideration,
no,
which we already mentioned that before.
yeah,
Then also public safety and infrastructure concerns, and you mentioned that earlier. Voters rejected a proposal for a new police station due to
right,
cost tax implications, but many felt that the current facility is old and in need of replacement. There are perceptions of declining public safety tied to understaffing or failure to carry out voters' wishes for more officers. What else? Okay, the long abandoned Norwich State Hospital. So that's an environmental concerns.
right,
Uh, Property is a big issue. Efforts to remediate hazardous materials are underway, but the site has been a concern for a long time. Vacant storefronts, derelict buildings, underused or neglected historic assets are
Yeah.
often cited as indicators of neglect or stagnation. And this is more from public perception and commentary. What else? Transparency, accountability, and resident engagement, which that's again, residents say there is a lack of engagement and responsiveness from local officials. Regular citizens sometimes feel decisions are made without sufficient community input. Yes, this is like fourth time they saying that. Some advisory votes or citizen petitioned measures are not implemented or discussed further. So yeah, again, and then special education concerns.
Mm.
There have been accusations, concerns of chronic violations in providing required services to students with special needs.
Yep.
So, to be honest, Norwich has a lot to
Oh,
work on.
there's more. And then there's more. We had a vote. The firefighters went out and got 5% petitioned to stop an ordinance that would
Uh-huh.
like affect the separation of volunteer and city fire. And there was over 2,000 votes to not consolidate, to get rid of that ordinance, right?
Yeah.
But what happened was, in an administrative move, the city manager called for the immediate unification of all fire, even though the people had voted no. So
Wow.
he could, it's one of those, yeah, you can do it, but should you? Right? But he
Mhm.
did.
Yeah.
Didn't meet with the fire staff, didn't go to vote because he didn't have to, just because you can, you know? And it has caused a rife in this
Wow.
town. Like there was already a little bit, but
Mhm.
fire's important, safety's important. They work together. They did things, together, and like they go to a call and take care of business and, help our town and save us money as volunteers. But the city, they unified the entire fire department after
Mhm.
people voted no. And the police station, if I
Wow.
can,
Yeah.
let's talk about that.
Uh-huh.
They bought the old Chelsea building for 800,000 because if they went over, it would have to go to referendum, right? So they bought that Chelsea building.
Mhm.
And only, I believe, a few months later, they were doing the budget and they couldn't get it to zero. Why? Because they had bought an $800,000 building. And so if people are wondering, like, why didn't the budget, go down to zero increase,
Yeah.
right? Or with their taxes? It's because they bought that police station, and then they're not going to put it on the on the ballot, because I was told, and actually I have the lady who told me on film saying it because she was giving a speech or whatever it was.
Uh-huh.
It would be political suicide for either party to put that to vote.
Wow.
So they are holding on to a building worth 800,000.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is the tax, right? They couldn't get the budget down to zero, right? And they don't want to move forward with the police station because it would be bad for politics. And I have said multiple times, Agnes, is this your internal politics, or is this for the best interest of the town?
Yeah.
Because a lot of things I see are done based on, oh, I kind of owe this person, or, oh, we have this agenda, and not in the best interest of the people of the town. I think they
Mhm.
would have been happy not to pay extra, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So there's that.
Wow, to be honest with you, you are making me think about what has been going on in New Britain and all these issues that I just literally read, all of this has no place here in New Britain. So it really kind of makes me appreciate, this town a lot more, because I did have a question from the chat, that I can see the chat here on the side, because we are on YouTube, we are on Facebook,
Oh,
we are on X as well. There is another platform called Twitch. I'm on
oh, I
Rumble,
love
and
Twitch.
I'm
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm on Kick as well. So this is being distributed to all these 6 platforms. And there was someone who asked, "Hey Agnes, would you consider living in Norwich?" And I just talked with you and read all these things and all these problems, and it just seems like they just don't listen to the public. They don't do anything really that public wants or ask them to do. And no, the answer is actually no. I probably would rather stay here in New Britain, because our mayor here was, I mean, she just was incredible with what she did with the budget. And then she worked extremely hard to get grants, and also extremely hard to bring um, jobs here, to bring
Yeah.
companies here. New Britain, few years back, we had Walmart. They closed down because there was so much stealing that they said is
Wow.
absolutely impossible for them to run
Wow.
Walmart. All
Yeah.
the grocery stores closed down. There was about only a couple of them. One opened, and then a year later, they turned it into storage. And every single building that lady here in New Britain transformed into something. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I need to appreciate my town a lot more than I have been. And I was complaining a lot, because yeah, taxes are very high. Schools aren't really still that great, but with the budget that she has from the real estate taxes, I mean, she took the city of New Britain with a huge debt after a Democrat, and it was doing really, really bad. And it kind of sounds a little bit like Norwich,
Yeah. I,
and
I almost want to
so
meet with this person and get some tips.
yes, I'm pretty sure she would be, open and happy to help you, because we just had a debate here in New Britain, because we are actually going to be getting a new mayor, and
Mhm.
the one that we had is going to run for a governor, and
Oh,
she is she's a Republican, so this is going to be very interesting. But she did help a lot, the new lady that she's running. And so, I mean, it seems like if you maybe, get in touch with someone who has done all these things and had
right.
ideas, and was able to really bring a shitty town. It was disgusting here. The crime was terrible. It's still pretty bad, but it's a lot better than what it was. Everything got basically redone. All the parks for kids, a lot of roads, and like I say, there is not so many houses that are completely neglected, and
Oh,
if
yeah.
they were just taken away from the owners, and they transformed them. We also have a veterans shelter, and at one time I have been raising money for veterans, and that's what I actually found out that I have in my town, and I was able to bring them a lot of clothes that I bought with the money that I raised. And I can tell you for sure it's possible. It's possible because, someone else has done it, even though my city is probably twice bigger, because it's about 70,000
Sure.
ish, people. But I think everything lays in jobs. You have to have jobs for your people. You have to. You have to try to bring these companies. You have to
Mhm.
try to bring Starbucks. You gotta bring McDonald's. I don't know, like other companies that will,
Yeah.
give you an opportunity for people to have part-time jobs, and like full, I don't know, something.
So in my case, I am heavy into tech. I actually am a
Mhm.
leader in free software and open source communities, right, for 20 years. I've been an advocate for all kinds of, legal
Yeah,
free speech, this and that. And I lived in a bedroom community of 80,000 people. It was magnificent.
yeah,
I
yeah.
I was able to work from home or drive 30 minutes away for a really good job,
Hmm.
right? At Intel, right?
Hmm. Oh, nice.
And
Yeah.
there was plenty of work outside of Intel if I wanted it, right?
Hmm.
Um, my daughter worked at a bank. My son worked at a grocery store locally, but he was younger,
Hmm.
and there's no shame in that, right? Working at a
No,
grocery store,
absolutely.
there's lots of food, right?
Yeah.
But
So,
we were unincorporated and we did better than
yes,
what's
yes,
happening here. And
yeah.
so I don't just see it as a local problem, but a statewide problem where um, jobs are high paying jobs are not really in some areas, right?
Yeah.
And the way that the pay scale is I've even been offered a lot less than what I'm worth. And I was like, no, I know what my
Yeah.
minimum is. Some people
Yeah.
might think, oh, I'm making 25, 30 an hour now when they could
Yeah.
be worth 50,
50.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
hmm
Hmm.
And I've
Absolutely.
seen it. I've seen it so many times, not just in Connecticut, but I've seen it where they don't understand their value. And I believe that if we do training and development or
Yeah.
train talent like Connecticut Manufacturing recommends, and we have
Hmm.
a concentration of highly skilled people in
Yeah.
this area, businesses will just come, or at least they can get remote
Absolutely.
work, right?
Yeah. But
Um,
you can also think about, because I read there is a lot of unused spaces, like if you do have old buildings that
yeah.
are like manufacturer buildings.
hmm
There was an idea here, and I know I shouldn't really, bring New Britain so much up, but because we're talking about Norwich, but they wanted to transform those old manufacturer buildings into servers, holding data,
Oh,
place.
data center. Data
Yeah,
center.
exactly. And
I did see there was a company that was possibly interested in Norwich for a data
there you
center.
go. Yeah, that would
But
bring.
I will say this, having experience with that in Mesa, Arizona, is that they get an abatement or a discount on the taxes for the first
Yeah,
few years.
that's true.
They suck dry all your resources. They use a
Hmm.
lot of energy. They use, and there's not really a, unless it's high performance computing, right? There's not really a lot of benefit, at least initially, and there's a lot of fight between the powers that be because the people are not happy with the data center, the amount of energy it takes, the noise, the traffic. And
Uh-huh.
so a large data center might seem ideal at first, but it warrants a little bit of looking into other alternatives um, as well, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm talking more about innovation and entrepreneurship, right?
Yeah.
And offering people a community center where they can prototype, create, innovate. Startups can happen.
Hmm.
Kickstarter funding could happen. Um, they could start a business, and since manufacturing is leaving the state, right,
Hmm.
because of the prevailing wage, they could offer those products as a service, right? And do the
Yeah.
manufacturing and stay, not just stay afloat and survive, but thrive.
Hmm.
Yeah, it needs to be a lot, like I said, 54,000 for a large percentage of the people. That doesn't need to be like that. Do you know?
Hmm.
And for a household, like if you have a two-party household, then that means they're only making like 27,000 each. Do you
Yeah.
know that
Whoa.
that's bring jobs or bring them to jobs or train them so they can do remote jobs. That's my vision for economic development.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, work together, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I quickly kind of Google what business wise what Norwich needs, and
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna read some of the examples here. So it says food and hospitality, sit down restaurants, cafes, and diverse cuisine options, ethnic food, brunch spots, bakeries, coffee shops, family friendly, and late night dining, hotels, boutique inns with proximity to casinos. Actually, that is not a bad idea. Mohegan Sun, Foxwoods. I don't think you have a lot of hotels around.
Um,
Historic
we do.
attractions and yeah, and the waterfront, there's opportunity for more lodging that isn't part of a casino complex.
Right. So
Then,
I
go ahead.
no, I was going to say the casino um, brought promise and hope, but how much hope can you have with an addictive economy?
That's true. Yeah.
Because
Yeah. That's a good point.
yeah, yeah,
So then
uh,
the next one is entertainment and leisure, live music venues, because it is a cultural town,
mhm,
performance spaces, nightlife. Young adults and artists in the area often go to New London or Hartford for live events. More local venues could keep that spending in Norwich. Independent movie theater, art house cinema,
oh,
bowling alleys, arcades, family recreation centers, these draw both locals and visitors, especially in areas undergoing downtown revitalization. And then retail and mixed use, boutique and specialty retail, vintage clothing, books, crafts, local makers, eco friendly refill stores, home goods, grocery options, especially downtown or in underserved areas. Some
right,
parts of which are considered food
food desert,
deserts. Yeah, pop up shops. Co-retail spaces for startups,
oh yeah,
temporary or flexible
that's
retail, yeah, setups can fill vacant buildings and help test the
that's
market.
right, that's
And
right,
then health and wellness, affordable fitness centers or specialty gyms, yoga, kickboxing, behavioral health services, addiction recovery centers.
mm,
Norwich has been hit hard by the opioids crisis. More accessible care could make a real impact. Urgent care outpatient clinics in
thank
underserved neighborhoods.
yes, thank
And
you for
then,
that,
yeah, and then we go to professional and tech services, co-working spaces and small business incubators to support
yep,
local entrepreneurs, creatives,
that's
uh,
right,
and remote workers. Green energy, environmental consulting could align with redevelopment of brownfield sites and push towards sustainability. Tech repair IT services for both business and residents. And then we go to education and workforce training, trade schools, that's a good one, and apprenticeship centers, that's a good
yeah,
one. To
that's a
help
good
residents transition into in demand fields like green energy, well, they're pushing that. Advanced manufacturing, construction, and HVAC. HVAC is really great. Adult education and ESL programs. Norwich is home to a diverse population, including many immigrants. And then tourism and waterfront development, kayak paddle rentals, harbor cruises, or
yeah,
waterfront cafes,
right,
local tourism hubs, or experience based businesses, historic walking tours, haunted history, art galleries. And what locals say, people want to spend money locally but feel limited by what's available. There's strong support for locally owned, minority owned, and sustainable businesses. Residents are calling for businesses that stay open later, especially downtown.
thank you, yes, I can't get
Right?
anything to eat after 9, 10 o'clock.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I feel the same way. My goodness.
Hmm.
It's about the same way everywhere. I mean, if you find a restaurant open till 11, you're lucky.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
lucky.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. And here's the thing. You have shift workers working at the casino or wherever, they work graveyard shift or they work second shift. And if you're closing everything at 9 or 10 o'clock, their food options are very limited. So they're spending less on takeout. They're spending less at restaurants because of the shit. So maybe they're buying it at the Sun or the casino, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And that could have been an option. And another thing is we have a large workforce just down the street in Groton. And when I was growing up, we
Hmm.
wanted the Navy and the EB employees and even Coast Guard to come to Norwich. So like instead of focusing on tourists going to the casino, let's focus on people who are in Groton, have them come out to our awesome restaurant or our awesome event.
Mm,
It's something because maybe they have complaints that in their town there's not a lot to do, right? Maybe they're going to Hartford or they're going to
yeah.
Fairfield, wherever. Let them come to Norwich. Nobody wants to. It's called the flyover town, or
Mm,
I have heard the word armpit. And so I want
yeah.
to be proud of Norwich. And I don't want to like make these like, just smoke and mirrors events for people to come out. And I want it to be safe. Our last fireworks, there were actual shots fired.
Wow. No
People
kidding.
were saying that, oh no, that was the fireworks, but people also saw the weapons and the people who were shooting. And it was confirmed by a former council person to the police chief who said, yeah, all H broke loose, right? Good
Hmm.
thing we had a good police presence there.
Yeah.
So we need to really, and people don't know. They're just, they don't see it. It's not in the
Hmm.
newspaper, or they don't pay the newspaper. They don't believe the truth when it comes out, right? And
Oh, yeah. That's
it
another
becomes a
thing.
big, yeah, it becomes a big issue because now they think they're safe down there. They're bringing their kids down there.
Yeah.
And sure, it may have been targeted. That's the new key phrase for anything that happens around here. It's targeted.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I'm not going to bring children down there if I know that a fight and guns will be drawn.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Absolutely.
we can sit
Absolutely.
on the hill and watch the fireworks. Okay.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, this was a lot of great information.
Suggestions, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great session. And I don't know if there's any other questions you have, but if so, let me know.
Let's see if I have anybody in the chat, who maybe possibly wants to ask you a question.
Mhm.
Because what I think, if we were to flip Connecticut red, there would have been in general a lot more companies that would come and wanted
That's
to work
right.
with us.
That's
I,
right.
I really, really do think that is beneficial for us creating jobs, not only in Norwich, but in the whole
In the
entire
whole
Connecticut.
state.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and so I want to say this is that in our town, if we want to bring in some big companies in tech, if they would consider us, maybe not at this point, but in the future, we need a mayor who can sit down
Yeah.
and meet and negotiate, and a good
Yeah.
city manager as well. Because, like, for example, there's been a lot of strife between one of the
Mhm.
candidates, and a certain culture, which is very prevalent in tech. And you cannot, like Indira Gandhi said, you cannot uh, shake fists with a clenched hand. right?
Mm.
And so we need someone who's open and, to anyone who's coming in with possible manufacturing or business, right? And so by you're really the, elections have consequences. We
Yeah.
would be seriously limiting ourselves if we had a mayor who couldn't sit down and, perform the duties of economic development, right? Because of any such pre-existing prejudices. So you
Hmm.
have to be really careful, right? You know what I mean? You want the right person at the table to make positive changes in not just the city, but, next year is the state rep as well, right? So,
Hmm.
whenever you're voting, you want to make sure you have the right candidate because it could make or break the state, the town. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I personally think that uh, many town councils and boards suffer from like bitter partnerships or like dysfunction.
Right.
Local politics often go unnoticed, but they're where the budget, schools, and housing gets shaped.
Mm-hmm.
So I would want to see like a state level reform that could include term limits for some offices,
Oh yeah.
ranked choice voting in municipal elections, stronger ethics rules or
Oh,
training for
oh
local
yeah.
officials.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Our ethics committee is selected by the council.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those, oh, we did an internal investigation. And one of one thing came up and I said, well, what's your borderline for ethics?
Mhm.
Because you know, the people have walked away at a council meeting when they realized that if they filed the complaint with the ethics board, it's just going to be the people that they nominated for the ethics board.
Yeah.
They must reach higher and go to the state's ethics committee about their
Yeah.
issue. And sometimes the issue is just something small locally that are not going to go that distance, right? And you see
Yeah.
the same people over and over and over. I agree with the limits because
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
had 12 years of experience, and you didn't do anything, and now you're saying you're going to put a grocery store in, or 8 years in our town's case. eight
Mhm.
years you could have done it. You could have done it in 8 years, but you didn't. So
Yeah.
why should we continue on this, election, electing this person, supporting this person who's not doing, it's not producing results.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I agree with the term limits. Get some fresh people in there, fresh
Yeah.
perspective. Experience is good, but sometimes there's too many debts owed when they've been in for so long. Too many,
Yeah.
too many, deals made, and relationships built is good, but not if it prevents the progress, right?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, and also, with that being said, that with trying to see the local politics a lot more, what I think what CT should do, Connecticut, and all the towns basically allow the same day voter registration, and have it statewide,
oh,
because
I
currently
didn't realize it
you
wasn't.
can yeah, no, you can't currently on the election day, and not everywhere. So
Okay.
you have to go basically to town hall, and then you have to spend there 3 or 4 hours. So basically, you can't just come in to where your district, for example, is where you need to vote, and you just sign there. You have to go through the whole entire process at the city hall. They're going to send you there. So they don't have a system implemented, that whoever just decides to, today, oh, I'm actually going to get up and go and vote, they basically can't, because you're going to be stuck in city hall for 3-4 hours trying to register yourself, and then
Mhm.
they maybe give you the ballot, to vote. So I would like to see that, because me personally, I think the voter registration is suppression of the voting system, in states, because you have to somehow make these people to go and register. They can't just get up and go and vote, And
Right.
there's only 20% of people in Connecticut, for example, that actually vote and are registered to vote. So
Yeah.
that's a big issue.
So in my town, it's odd. There's only 40,000 people, but
Yeah.
21,000 of them are registered to vote. And um,
Wow.
I've been working on a lot of different projects throughout the state. And one of the first ones I did was the voter rolls, just to check them out. And
Yeah.
immediately I saw my father's business partner's mother, who had passed away years ago, was right at the top of the list. Someone who moved to Boston was on the
Yeah.
list, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I marked them all up, and it turns out that the rolls really could use a little bit of cleaning up.
Yeah.
you know. So out of the 21,000,
Yeah. Sorry.
only no 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 only 5,000 voted, like about 5,100
Wow.
out of 21,000. So that's 25%, 30% of the registered voters who actually voted.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's having a low percentage of voter turnout and low engagement. It,
Yes.
it makes it difficult without the support of the people in the town coming out to those,
Mhm.
meetings. And I think that's a little bit by design. There's no one to be accountable to if nobody comes out.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I also think that you guys are kind of in Norwich, like left out when it comes to any like transportation, basically,
Oh, yeah.
because much of the transportation spending and planning basically focuses on I-95, which is mostly Fairfield County, where you're going down, to New York and all that rest of the states.
Yeah.
And eastern and central Connecticut basically it feels like it's left behind, and
Yeah.
so I would like to see more investment in basically like rural public transportation. And
Yeah.
then why don't they not expand the rail service?
So,
I don't.
yeah. So, not to interrupt, I know we've been going on kind of long because I
Oh,
really
that's
want
okay.
to talk about this. I really
Yeah.
do. And people have looked at me sideways and thought I was, a little odd, right? I said, well, we don't have the jobs here right now. It's going to take a little while. Why don't we offer transportation to where there are
Yes. Yes.
and and then transportation back, safe transportation, even if it's an express shuttle. We work with the bus company, we do it as a city, we
Yeah.
figure something out. Because I could not get I got offered a job 20 something years ago in New York, but I
Mhm.
couldn't get from Norwich to New York in less than few hours by train.
Yeah. It's far.
And
Yeah.
add extra hours, I couldn't even get there on time, even if I tried, right?
Yes. Yes.
Because
Yeah.
of the lack of bus service. But oh, they got buses, trains and buses going to Boston, New York all the time from other areas. Like if you lived in Waterbury or Danbury, right?
Yeah.
You can get a
Yeah.
train into New York, no problem, right?
Yeah.
It was a little bit disappointing because at the time the train pass for the month was very affordable considering the salary difference that I would have had in New York.
Oh,
So
of
let's
course.
make it possible. Let's make it possible that people can just either get to jobs get trained to have remote jobs. You know, that brings money
Yeah.
into the town. 100 people making 100,000 is $10 million. So
Yeah.
we start off with 100 people, and then let's build it to 1,000 people, and then wow, right? You know what I'm saying? That brings a
Yeah.
lot of money in for the town while we're trying to, get more usage out of our properties in a more like economic way, right?
Yeah.
Businesses.
I mean,
Hmm.
United States, it is specific, everywhere you basically want to go here, you gotta drive, forever,
Yeah,
half an hour, like I don't even consider half an hour being long, to be honest
right.
with you,
No, seriously. Yeah.
I will drive to see my girlfriend for an hour, just to spend some time with her. And
Yeah.
like previously for me, because I'm from Poland, Poland is about size of a Texas,
Okay. Okay.
and you can go in 10 hours, you will cross the whole entire country basically. If you want to
Wow.
go, yeah, if you want to go from south to north or from east to west, 10 hours, and now probably even less because their infrastructure and building bridges and highways is amazing, and I just feel like here, like United States does not build any roads, any new roads, no new bridges. And it bothers me, to be honest with you, because we are getting more and more and more cars,
Yeah.
and we are getting really congested, even around here it's been bad lately.
Oh, I bet.
And it's because, I mean, everyone has 2 3 kids, every kid is going to have a car, you
Yeah.
have 2 cars, right? And you used to had only one car in a family, right? So
Right.
I mean, that public transportation, I think, would have been really, really great in the areas when people are making a very low, they're working really low income
Yeah.
jobs, like
Yeah.
Norwich. I mean,
Hmm.
from Norwich to go to Hartford. I'm not saying Hartford is the best place to work
Right.
at, but
Right.
it's the
Right. Right.
capital of insurance. And so I mean, you could have a possibility of finding, but basically anywhere, any kind of jobs. So I mean, if you don't have a transportation, you are so limited here in the United States.
Right. And so a lot of people started working remotely at COVID, but I was working remotely since 2001 for Pearson,
Uh-huh.
right? And I was hybrid at that time, that first remote gig. But I have worked others that were 100% remote. And like when I was here, I worked a remote gig out of Seattle, another one out of San Francisco, and another one out of Folsom, California.
Mhm.
And so it's possible, right, with the right skill set to get remote jobs while in Connecticut. But the transportation issue, if you have like a hybrid job, which is you go in 2 days a week, 1 day a week, whatever.
Yeah,
Like I was working in Fairfield. I had to work 1 day a week.
in
I have,
Fairfield.
yeah,
Yeah,
I have a vehicle, but Fairfield is 77 miles each way.
that's 2 hours. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's a tough one, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but I mean, I did it once a week. It's no big, right? I can
Um,
handle that, right?
yes,
But if
yes.
5 days a week, that's
Yeah. Oh,
a lot of gasoline, right?
yeah.
Wear and tear on the vehicle, wear and
And time.
tear on the person. By the time you get to work, you just drove like an hour and a half,
Yeah,
2 hours,
forever.
right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So if there was some way that there was some kind of train or other transportation where I could sit,
Yeah.
relax, even open up my laptop and do a little work so I can, count those hours, right?
I was used to reading Romans books when I was on the public transportation in Poland.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, like
The romance
Harlequins.
books.
I don't know if you have those here, but I loved Harlequins, and they had always like a love story, and that's
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
was
yeah.
reading.
I
Because
actually,
sometimes,
yeah, I actually worked with a woman who was a romance writer right?
Oh yeah.
At the university. Yeah. And she didn't like it, but it was pretty popular and she loved doing it and she get a little bit of royalties from that, So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that's great. That's a good
So
time to learn and read and relax and
yes,
whatever
it's
you're
the time
doing.
that
Yeah.
could be productive, even though you're spending it, trying to get to work or coming home. But
Hmm.
you have the time to focus on some things, instead of scrolling on your phone, you could
Right.
be a little bit more productive, and research some stuff, maybe listen to some podcast.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Like yours, right?
yeah,
So,
exactly.
one other thing I wanted to say is, like you said at the beginning, we have three rivers: the Chautauqua, um,
Yeah.
the Connecticut, and I want to say is it the Thames?
It's the T, yeah, T
Yeah,
something. Yes, yes.
yeah, Chautauqua. Okay, Yantic. I should know this, right? Okay, so I do know that our waterway, if we had some kind of serious like transportation, ferry, boat, whatever, could go
Yeah.
down to where at least Groton, New London, where they have a train. So,
Hmm.
and they also have ferries to other locations that you could put your car on. I'm not saying put your car on our ferry. Let's start small, okay?
Yeah.
But if people could just get, there was a lady here who worked in Groton, and she didn't have transportation, and so in order to keep her job, she took Uber every day home and to there. Like,
Wow.
that's a heavy expense.
That's a
If there was
lot.
like a ferry that went from Groton to Norwich and back, if that was a possibility, I mean, these are the things I want to look into more when I have a good, more, better idea of the infrastructure and what's available and what has been done and what can be done. But
Yeah.
transportation is a huge issue, really, when it comes to people having
Mhm.
sustainable work. Yeah.
Yes, I know.
Hmm. Hmm.
Well, Marcia, I think we exhausted a lot of topics and issues and good things that could happen in Norwich, and I wish you good luck, and I hope you able to take that position and change the city, because we do need more Republicans. We need good people that are for people, that are not going to forget that they're working for us, and
That's
they're
right.
just regular people that need to help us navigate throughout our lives, and make things affordable for us, and accessible for us, and let's not forget, this is America. This is supposed to be the greatest country in the world,
That's
and I
right.
would like to stay thinking that it is the greatest country in the world. But sometimes when you dig some information and you see what's
Right.
going on, you are losing the perception of the greatest country in the world, because not having a public transportation kind of is like a third world country problem.
Right. 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 No,
So,
really, really. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And the great thing is we have hope and we have, good leadership and good people to, work with on these items. And I really
yeah.
appreciate you taking the time, Agnes.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
appreciate
Whenever
it.
I can, like I said, and whenever I can help, and I hope this talk that we just had, that we will be able to distribute it, and more people is going to see it. And I also believe now with President Trump, we will have a lot more possibility of implementing Republicans into, the Congress and locals
Right.
um, and
So
everywhere else.
we can have elections and not selections.
Yes, yes, exactly. And I think this country is finally kind of going into the right direction.
I think so.
Where the God is important, and where the family unit is, basically praised, and they want more families with kids, and they want to help families, and not basically just dividing and, having everyone divorced and all that, because that's how it felt to me, with the previous administration. So
Oh,
I would like to see, Connecticut, and I would like to see Norwich going into the direction of being a successful city with, great residents, because you definitely have a potential. There is a
oh yeah,
potential, and you just need to have someone smart like you who is going to be able to see where the mistakes are being made, and be smart about the budget and how you can use the resources and get grants. The grants are
right.
also important. So I wish you good luck, and thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for coming here. And I'm pretty sure I may see you sometime, on some other patriotic gatherings, or
Right? Yeah,
and I want to also invite you to watch a couple other podcasts that I'm going to do with some people that are trying to run for Congress as well. So, as much as I can support you, I will. And then if I can help you somehow, I don't know if you do run funds, if you have any fundraiser, or if you have any links or something that, we should be aware of, like your website, or, what you want to be doing. I'm really hoping that people are going to get out
yeah.
and vote
I hope
and
so.
change something, because if you don't like something, you should try to change it. And that's how I feel about most of the things, and this is why I'm sitting in this place, because I want to
Yeah,
change
and
it.
you're dedicated,
Yeah.
hours and hours of podcasting. I love it. It's great. And I really appreciate all the work that you do, Agnes. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And I'm pretty sure we'll be in touch, but I think it's almost 9 o'clock, and
Yeah.
we talked about a lot of things, and we want to let people who are watching this go, and have, their free time.
Yeah.
And um, and hopefully some people from Norwich they were able to watch, we're
Well, I'll
talking
be
about.
posting some of, the link to it and
Yeah,
everything in Norwich
yeah.
so that they can see it. But
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. I can't see. But I love the Twitch angle, by the way, because I was
Yeah.
doing not gaming on Twitch, but I was
Uh-huh.
doing coding on Twitch.
Oh, okay,
I
nice.
enjoyed it
Yeah.
because people can talk to you and,
Yes,
yeah,
yes, yes.
yeah, it's
I mean,
great.
I used to, when I was a little bit more involved, I also started a Discord channel,
Oh yeah.
And yeah, and I thought I was gonna be, doing a lot more connecting and stuff like that. But when Trump got in, I was just like, thank you so much. I could
All right.
finally breathe,
That's
right?
it.
But
Yeah.
then, I have this just amazing. You've been to Cadillac Ranch, right? You said
Oh, a
to
few
when?
times. Yeah, I was there
Yeah,
one time.
exactly. So
You were there one time when I was there.
yes, I mean, I realize that, sometimes when you are so taken by and dedicated to things, and then those things happen for you, then you feel like you can relax. And that's how I felt. So I haven't been showing up a lot to a lot of events, but I'm being asked by, people that are patriots, and people that are Republicans, and people that are always organizing something patriotic for us to show up. And they were just like, what is wrong with you? We're going to turn city red now. So, get your ass in gear, and that's basically, what I'm trying to do. So,
Yeah.
no more relaxing, we gotta get going.
Well, that's it. Every day it's a different thing. But it's good. Forward motion, right, Agnes? Like
Yeah,
we're making everything, we're taking action, we're getting results.
yeah.
So that's, little by
I
little.
think I think turning Connecticut red is possible, but
Oh
for a
yeah.
lot of people feels like it's not possible. And it's been a very long time since we were last red. I think it was in the 80s.
Wow.
82, I think I read. I'm not quite sure 100%, but it's been a really long time. But you know what would that mean for the next presidential election if we flipped red and we were able to give an electoral vote, to a president, the next president that, is going to, I mean, candidate that is going to
Right,
run
right,
for
right.
the president. I mean, if we show up on a map red, everyone is going to be like, what?
Well,
What just happened?
didn't we have like 44 unopposed seats? And that could really matter if we have, Republicans running against them instead of just
Yeah.
unopposed Democrats. That's
Yes.
going to be huge, right?
Yeah.
So,
I agree. And I
mhm.
also agree with Jonathan. I talked to him was it last week? And he said something that stuck really with me. And he was like, listen, Republicans in Connecticut are pushovers.
Yeah,
And we are not standing up and doing enough, really. And we don't have people that run for Congress, that run for certain seats, like we need
hmm
people that are going push, And I was like, you know what? There is something about that. And I think it's true, that we are not really pushing for the government enough here in Connecticut. So I think we need to change that.
I think so.
All right,
So.
Marcia, I
All
want you
right.
to. I
I
can
think
talk
so.
forever, but
Yeah, me too. So we better let the people go. All
uh,
right.
all right, guys. Thank you so much. I love you, and I'll see you sometime soon. I have more podcasts that I'm going to be producing. If I don't show up, don't kill me and don't be upset. Sometimes I have to work, and it's last minute, and that has happened to me with my last stream. I didn't. I was going to talk about Connecticut, which I'm still going to present a little bit about Connecticut so people can understand. But if you were here with me or you are listening to this later on, thank you so much and take care. And as usual, see you later. Bye, guys. Bye,
Bye.
Marcia.
Bye, Agnes.
Bye.